So, guys, welcome. My name is Jake Jensen. I'm the strength and conditioning coach for the Berlin Eisbären Berlin here in Germany. This presentation will be about test exercises in ice hockey and sort of how I go about testing my athletes. This is a little table of contents for where we're going to head. Within this presentation, we'll start with some background on my coaching philosophy and how I approach training for sport. We'll talk about why I feel testing is important and the background on why we should test our athletes and why we should not. Talk about what tests are useful for team sports and for me for ice hockey. Sort of getting into the details of what I do for my sport to look at the guy's fitness. We'll talk about a couple considerations for how to test to decrease the noise within the tests. In team sports, it can be tough to be objective, and these are some things I found helpful in keeping the tests objective. Finally, we'll finish up with some methods that I like to use for delivering information to coaches and management about testing. Some of the things that I find that help me to communicate effectively with them. So a little background about me. A lot of people know that I work closely with Anatoly Bondarchuk, the Soviet hammer throws coach. He's really shaped my philosophy and strength and conditioning with the way he looks at transfer. So for Anatoly, anything you do in training should have some type of direct effect on the sport itself. Whether it's training a young hockey player, what are you doing now to help him be better at hockey? Whether it's this weekend or in 5 years, there should be some way to measure transfer from everything that you do in the gym to the actual sport. Yuri Verkhoshansky, the father of plyometrics, invented block periodization, the shock method, incredibly famous coach. For me, the reason that he is a real influencer on my philosophy and strength and conditioning is the methods that he pioneered for developing explosive qualities in athletes. I use his progressions and a lot of the principles that he discovered in the way that I train hockey players. Dr. Yessis, Dr. Michael Yessis, the things I use from Doc primarily are how he develops specialized exercises for team sport athletes. I feel like it's a really good innovation for modern strength coaches, and his view of sports based on biomechanics is a helpful addition to the way that I train hockey players. Roman, the weightlifting coach. These next three guys I primarily have been influenced by what they've published. I don't really know them personally. I've never met them, obviously, but Roman has published a couple books on training weightlifters, and I'll bring an example up later on in the presentation, but he was very meticulous in his recording of things he felt were important for weightlifters. And for me, that's a great example and one that I try to follow. Lev Medvedev is one of the fathers of modern strength and conditioning. He helped invent periodization. He helped bring to bear training with weights in sports, in particular in team sports. And so, as a strength coach, I owe him a great debt. And the things that he identified early on as important factors for team performance are things that I still use today. And so that guy definitely goes on my list of mentors. Joseph Drabick wrote the book Children in Sports Training, and I find myself frequently coming back to this book as a reference material for how to train athletes, my younger athletes, and which times of their life sort of have the most potential for growth in the different sport qualities. It's a great resource. Anybody who doesn't have that book, you can get it on Amazon, and I highly recommend making what's in that book part of your training philosophy, especially if you work with kids. And the overall message for me that I take from these Soviet coaches, these fathers of our field, is that they operated under a paradigm where direction was foundational. So the training that they did with athletes was directed at a specific goal, and that goal was winning in their sport.